Good morning. Today I'm going to bring a short video to you, and it's all about how I film. It's a question I've been asked by some of my Patreons to what equipment I use and where I place cameras to film with. So this is going to be all about that. The other thing is, I do want to promote some other very young channels such as my own. I have been filming now, as you know, for a couple of months or so, and there's an awful lot of other people out there which have been filming for similar times. There's a lot of big narrowboat channels out there which I'm assuming doing very well, and I would like to try and help promote some of us small bees. And in no particular order, the ones I'd like to promote are Slow Boat Through Britain, Sasha's Narrowboat Life, the Liveaboard family, and Morningstar. Now, if there's any more of you out there and I've missed you, I apologise, but I'd like to sort of dedicate this episode to them, as we're all upcoming newbies, and let's hope we all reach that 1,000 subscribers very soon. Now on to the video. When filming outside, I have some permanent camera fixtures, one being here on the back on the hatch cover, so I can actually zoom it basically by moving the hatch cover if need be. Another permanent mount I have is this one here, which is on the front of my boat, and this one I call my bow cam whenever I film from it. And this is what it actually looks like when mounted. I use this multi-mount so I can actually move the camera backwards and forwards, rotate it if I want to, and side to side. When filming inside the boat, I normally sit a small tripod just the other side of my laptop, and you'll get some sort of picture like this. When I'm doing my cooking videos, most of my filming is done from here, which is a mount I have sitting on the wall. It was just stuck up there, but it kept falling off, so it's now screwed up there. Of course, this is not actually the GoPro I normally film with, but this is the sort of way I set it up. It's clipped into the bracket up here, and it's on a little mount again, so I can change it around and move it up. If I want to actually film me, move it back down for filming either the stove or the counter, or I just leave it set basically in the middle where I capture both. So that's where I always fix the GoPro, or very occasionally I'll sit it on this little mount here, or I'll put another action camera on there. And also my DSL camera sometimes sits on the tripod up here, over here somewhere, which I remove all my cookery books and push it right up tight against my spice rack so I can get a different angle from there, obviously filming down towards the cooker. For lighting in here, normally I have these lights, one light sat up here, this LED light, which shines down on the cooker, and another one here shining down on the worktop. Now, they're not up there at the moment. I normally have them attached with Velcro. So a friend of mine who is on a boat just a couple of boats away up the cut, her electric failed the other night, the alternator packed up, so I lent them to her so she would have some light on the boat. So I removed the Velcro off of them. Now the question is, of course, what cameras do I use? Well, let's go through them. Now I have 3 cheap action cameras. These are the ones you normally find me filming with, using as a bow camera. or the stern camera, just because if I forget them mounted there, it wouldn't be quite the end of the world if they got stolen, unlike the GoPro I have in my hand filming this with. And of course I have various mounts for that. There's my cup of tea that I can fill it up with, and I have a big bag full of different mounts and floats. Next, of course, is my DSLR camera, which I use mainly for photography these days, just taking stills. I did do a lot of filming with it a while ago, and I actually lost the SD card that was in it. I had over 700 gigabytes of film on it, and I took it out that morning because I was going to go off walking to do some photography, and I put it down somewhere in the boat and I haven't found it since. I'm guessing it's in a really safe place. For this camera I have various fittings. I have in here, I have a macro lens, a ×2 converter that goes onto my standard 28-55mm lens I have on the camera and multiplies it by 2. And also have a 300mm, it zooms I think from 70 to 300, which I use for some of my still shots. For that, besides the microphone of course I have on it, I do have an LED light I can mount to it, and I can then mount the microphone above that. I do have an external flash which can go on a extended mount. I also have a set of different filters, and there's a remote control in there and just various bits and pieces. I also have this, which is my JVC camcorder. This I've had for quite a few years now. I actually bought this probably 14 years ago now, 13-14 years ago. It was a top of the range camcorder with a 30 gigabyte hard drive that would record for up to 7 hours in HD. Of course that HD is around about 720. It's called ultra fine on here, and it's actually a little bit above 720, but it's not 1040. I do use it occasionally. The last time I used it was when I was doing the reversing for water episode, and I used it for the long shots because it's quite good for that, as it has an 800 times zoom digital and a 34 times optical zoom, and it only required the optical zoom to do that filming. It doesn't come out the case very often. When it does, it can be very useful. Besides this, of course, I do have my GoPro. My GoPro is what I'm filming this with. I'll throw a couple of still shots in of it so you can see what it looks like. It is the GoPro 8 Black. And lastly, I have my drone with controller. This I have not used yet on the boat. A couple of reasons behind that. I believe it's oversized for the regulations, and it's also capable of flying to 1100 feet, and I believe 400 feet is the allowance for a drone these days. and since it has no auto stop on the elevation, and I have decided not to use it because I don't think it's legal, so it's still in the box. One day I might take a course on it so I can fly it. Well, I hope that answers some questions of what film and equipment I use and where I place the cameras. As you can see, I really don't use any top of the range stuff, but I make do with what I have. Now, this part of the film is dedicated to Jerry, whom gave me this Black Hawk's flag to fly on the boat just before I left to come over here. Only been flying now for a couple of days. I couldn't work out how I was going to fly it on the back of the boat until I come up with this. This is an extending clothes prop, so what I can actually do is lower it back down into itself. We're going through bridges and tunnels, etc. It does look good flying on the back of the boat, doesn't it? A lot of my friends from the US will definitely know that I was a big Black Hawks supporter. I hope you enjoyed that and found it informative on how I film. I'd like to dedicate this to all of the people I mentioned at the start, all the new YouTube channels on narrowboating. I will leave a link to all their channels in the description below, so please check them out and subscribe to them. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to me, please subscribe to me as well. That just leaves me to say, thank you very much for watching. Trevor out.